Okay, all right. Shabbat Shalom. We are live. We are going to be continuing with our look at the triennial Torah portion. Let me set this up here. Okay, all right. Our weekly Midrash. This week, we are going to be looking at Shelach, sin, which is Numbers chapter 12. If we can have Hiski read nice and loud, chapter 12 of Numbers. And then we will go into it. We're probably just going to deal with the Torah this week. That says 12. But we're not reading 12, actually. It's 13. No. 12 was last week. Okay, so Numbers chapter 13. That's a typo. Numbers chapter 13. As soon as you see that, go ahead and
Then Yahweh spoke to Moses, saying, "Send out yourself men, so that they may spy out the land of Canaan, which I am going to give to the sons of Israel. You shall send a man from each of their fathers' tribes, every one a leader among them." So Moses sent them from the wilderness of Paran, and the command of Yahweh, all of them men who were heads of the sons of Israel. These then were their names: from the tribe of Reuben, Shammua, the son of Zachar, yeah.
That's good.
From the tribe of Simeon, Shaphat, the son of Hori. From the tribe of Judah, Caleb, the son of Jephunneh. From the tribe of Issachar, Igel, the son of Joseph. From the tribe of Ephraim, Hoshea, the son of Nun. From the tribe of Benjamin, Palti, the son of Raphu. From the tribe of Zebulun, Gadiel, the son of Sodi. Is it Sodi?
Susi.
Huh?
We looking at 11? Son of Susi?
Yeah. No, I'm looking at 10. Son of Sodi. From the tribe of Joseph, from the tribe of Joseph, from the tribe of Manasseh, Gadi, the son of Susi. The tribe of Dan, Amiel, the son of Gemali. From the tribe of Asher, Sether, the son of Michael. From the tribe of Naphtali, Nabi, the son of Vopsi. from the tribe of Gad, Gil, the son of Maki. These are the names of the men whom Moses sent to spy out the land. But Moses called Hoshea, the son of Nun, Joshua. When Moses sent them to spy out the land of Canaan, he said to them, "Go up there into the Negev. Go up there, then go up into the land, into the hill country, and see what the land is like, and whether the people who live in it are strong or weak, whether they are few or many, and how is the land in which they live, is it good or bad, and how are the cities in which they live, are they like open camps or with fortifications, and how is the land is it fat or lean, are there trees in it or not? Make an effort then to get some of the fruit of the land. Now the time was the time of the first ripe grapes. So they went up and spied out the land from the wilderness of Zin as far as Rehob, and at Lebohamath. When they had gone up into the Negev, they came to Hebron, where Ahiman, Shishai, and Talmai, the descendants of Anak, were. Now Hebron was built 7 years before Zoan in Egypt. They came to the valley of Eshcol, and from there cut down a branch with a single cluster of grapes, and they carried it on a pole between two men, with some of the pomegranates and the figs. That place was called the Valley of Eshcol, because of the cluster which the sons of Israel cut down from it. When they returned from spying out the land at the end of 40 days, they proceeded to come to Moses and Aaron and to all the congregation of the sons of Israel in the wilderness of Paran and at Kadesh. And they brought backward to them and to all the congregation and showed them the fruit of the land. Thus they told him and said, "We went into the land where you sent us, and it certainly does flow with milk and honey, and this is its fruit. Nevertheless, the people who live in the land are strong, and the cities are fortified and very large. And moreover, we saw the descendants of Anak there. Amalek is living in the land of the Negev, and the Hittites and the Jebusites and the Amorites are living in the hill country, and the Canaanites are living by the sea and by the side of Jordan." Then Caleb quieted the people before Moses and said, "We should by all means go and take possession of it, for we shall surely overcome it." But the men who had gone up with him said, "We are not able to go up against the people, for they are too strong for us." So they gave out to the sons of Israel a bad report of the land which they had spied out, saying, "The land through which we have gone is spying it out is a land that devours its inhabitants." and all the people whom we saw in it are men of great size. There also we saw the Nephilim, the sons of Anak, are part of the Nephilim, and we became like grasshoppers in our own sight, and so we were in their sight.
Okay. All right, very good. That was a lot of reading there, Hisky.
Yeah.
Okay, so we are going to go back and deal with this Shelach. Shelach is to send away. To send away for or out. Anywise, appoint. So when we're thinking about the idea of sending out, there's specific intentions involved, right? I just sent Hisky out to get me some coffee, right? I send him out with specific intentions, right? And appointed him to a specific task. So when we're thinking about this command that was put out here, we have these specific intentions connected with it. The word is used to describe Elohim sending forth or away in a providential manner or purpose, right? So there's purpose to the sending, not just go over there, but there is purpose to the sending. Shelach. So when we look at the first two verses there, where it says, and Yahweh spoke to Moshe saying, send men to spy out the land of Canaan, which I am going to send, which I am giving the children of Israel. Send one man from each tribe of their fathers, everyone a leader among them. So we want to think about the fact that as we move forward, we want to think about the fact that this was a command from the Most High. The Most High has given this command to Moses for Moses to go and tell the people. So we want to think about this a bit. And weigh that against what I'm about to say right here, right? The decision to spy out the land was given by Almighty. However, the idea didn't originate with him. He approved it and allowed it at the request of the people, right? But we don't see that from the text. We don't see that aspect from this particular text. But if we go over to Ezekiel, we find out some things. We find out the fact that the Most High already done did the thing that he's sending the people out to do. Ezekiel 25:6 says, and you shall say to them, thus says the Master Yahweh, on the day when I chose Yisrael and lifted my hand in an oath to the seed of the house of Yaakov and made myself known to them in the land of Mitzrayim, I lifted my hand in an oath to them, saying, I am Yahweh your Elohim. On that day, I lifted my hand in an oath to them to bring them out of the land of Mitzrayim into a land that I had searched out for them, flowing with milk and honey, the splendor of all lands. So Yahweh, the Most High, had already searched out the land. He done already went and seen the goodness of the land ahead of time and chose this land specifically for Israel to move out into. We're talking about before he moved, before he rescued Israel from Egypt. Right? I had searched them out. He already had did it. Okay, so let's keep on looking here. Psalms 47:4 said he chooses our inheritance for us, the excellency of Yaakov, whom he loves, Selah. One more, Matthew 25:34 says, then the sovereign shall say to those on his right hand, come, you blessed of my Father, inherit the reign prepared for you from the foundation of the world. So we're looking at the fact that dealing with the promised land, the Most High done already looked at the land and has already determined it to be a proper inheritance for the people. He's already done that. So again, we look at the facts. It shows that the Most High has already chosen the place for his people. So why would he command Moses then to send spies? Because we clearly seen that. We've seen that he sent Moses to send the spies, right? So why would he do it to fulfill the thing that he's already done? He's already done that, right? Any thoughts? Okay, no thoughts.
Oh, I was trying to type, but I guess
yes.
I couldn't speak.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I was just thinking it's just an exercise for them to show their faith, to be obedient and doing what he commanded, and then for them to grow, to trust in him throughout, seeing that there's giants and so forth, and understanding what needs to be done to receive what he's already ordained for them to have.
Oh, you saying to send them out to look at what he's already went out and looked at. That in and of itself, you saying is a test of their faith.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. Just to test obedience and doing what he said, and to believe in him that he's given them this land, so he's going to give it to them. It's theirs, so they just have to receive it, regardless of what it looks like, regardless of the circumstance. They have to receive that gift, and that takes a lot of faith and trust in him, because they see challenges and obstacles. But when the Spirit of the Lord is with you, then you're supposed to be zealous in overcoming whatever physical obstacles that may be before your eyes, because we got to live by faith and not by the sight that we see.
Okay, well, I think that we can say yes, it will be a test of obedience, but the faith part, I think, would be lacking, because if I say that I found this spot and it's a wonderful spot, it's the best spot that there is, faith would just allow you to just go and look at and go accept the predeterminations that I've already made. Right? That would be faith. You having faith in my searching would be you just going and acting and not having to have this preliminary thing happen, to go and look and search it out. So I would agree and say yes. Anytime that the Most High is giving you a command, it would be a test of your obedience. But I would say that the fact that they felt like they needed to go and search the place out after the fact seems as if it's a lack of faith, I would say. let's keep going here.
This light.
What got us to this place here to begin with? This is what we'll look at. We'll see that the people asked Moses to spy out the land. Moshe asked Yahweh, and then where we are now, in the context, Yahweh commands Moshe to allow the people to do the thing. So let's look at it. The people asked Moshe. If we look at Deuteronomy 1:21 and 22, we see this where it says, "See, Yahweh, your Elohim has set the land before you. Go up and possess it. As Yahweh, Elohim of your fathers, has spoken to you, do not fear, do not be discouraged. And all of you came near to me," this is Moshe speaking, "and said, let us send men before us and let them search out the land for us and bring back word to us of the way by which we shall go up and of the cities into which we would come." So we see an addition to the narrative when we get over into Deuteronomy, the retelling of the what has already happened, a part of the story that we don't have necessarily in Numbers, right? Where Moses is saying, look, the Most High, Yahweh has set up this place for us. Don't fear. Don't be discouraged. And then now they saying, well, I know that he said that he has found this place that's flowing with milk and honey, but let us go up here and look at it first. Let us go up here and check the place out and see what's what with it before we go and see. Let's see what we getting ourselves into as we go up. So when we look here in Deuteronomy, Moshe is giving us some added information that we didn't have over here in Numbers. That the people, it's the people who's wanting to go and do this. So then this part, I would say we have to assume that Moshe asked Yahweh, because Moshe, of course, is the mediator between the people and Yahweh. When we look at, for instance, we look at the golden calf situation, Moses pled for the people. When we look at the various times when you have the people chiding against Yahweh, Moses is in the middle. When we look back at Exodus 20 and 19, where it says, and said to Moshe, you speak with us and we hear you. This is the people, but let not Elohim speak with us lest we die. We see from the time that, it's not really that. We see from the time of the commandments being given that the people of Israel did not want to deal with the Most High. They wanted to have it in between. Moshe took that over. So when we balance that with what we see in Deuteronomy in terms of Moshe telling the people, we're going to go and we're going to take this land. The people having to say what they have to say about it. Another example is Jethro with the idea of the judges and the leaders of the people. he comes up with this grand idea to help Moshe with the governing of the people. Moses takes that to the Father, and then Yahweh ordains or allows the and adds this thing as a command, right? So we see various examples of things originating from man going back to the Father, and then Yahweh permitting these things and putting them into effect. Okay, so we see that Yahweh, of course, then commanded Moshe to send men to spy out the land of Canaan. So the spy there is to meander, here's an interesting word, to reconnoitering. It's kind of like reconnaissance, like if you're going like on a recon mission or surveying. When they went to spy out, they went to search out, they went to see what was what with the land of Canaan. So, in English we say Canaan, but in Hebrew it's Canaan, which means humiliated. Canaan comes from the word kana, which means to bend the knee. Hence to humiliate, vanquish, bring down, or bring low into subjection, under, humble or humble self, or to subdue. This word kana, the root for kina'ah, it has the basic sense of bringing low, meek. It is used of the Almighty's humbling an uncircumcised, prideful heart, or defeating Israel's enemies. It is used of humbling oneself as well, especially before Yahweh. The key to the Israelites' success after failure was to repent and humble themselves before Yahweh, or Kana. And we see Yahweh challenges Job that only he can humble and crush the wicked in due time. So we see this idea of now we have this people, Canaan, who are named after this. They have the root of the name mean to humble or to subdue or to put under. So when you think about what Israel is commissioned to do here, they're going to spy out the land, and they're literally going to do to the people in the land what it is that the people are actually named, which is to be subdued. That's what they were going in there to do, is to subdue the people, to overtake the people that was there, right? If we look here at Kina'ah in the ancient, let me plug this. We have the open palm. We have the open palm, which is to bend or to allow, the open palm. Here, the noon, which is the sprouted seed, which is the thing that causes continuation. So it has the idea of continuation. The Ein, which is the eye, which has the idea of knowledge or intimate knowledge, or knowing, and the noon again. So when we think about Kina we have the idea of bending low or bending low continually and having an intimate relationship with the thing that's being continued, which is the bending low, right? So we can see inside of this the idea of, to be the people, that is to be humbled or to be made low, with here the ancient pictographs. Okay, so when we look at this, the command that was given out, something that I think that is important to pay attention to, is the fact that he's saying, send the men to spy out the land of Canaan, which I am giving to the children of Israel. So I think that this is a key point to understand, the fact that if I know that the Most High is giving this thing to me, it seems as if it should take away some of the obscurity. It should take away some of the mystery that's involved in this whole thing if we're dealing with something that is being given to me. It's not, I shouldn't have to think about the idea of going and taking a thing, because that really seems like what Israel was preparing to do, was to go and take a thing. But what's actually going on is that the Most High, which I am giving to the children of Israel, it's a giving, right? That word is natan, to give, used with great latitude of application, to add, apply, appoint, ascribe, assign, right? When we think about this word natan, it has everything to do with, the gift, the giving, and receiving, and it has nothing to do with the taking. Okay, that's a lot there. Well, basically, out of the word Natan, what we see exclusively is the idea of literally giving, right? So it's important to understand that these key things that the Most High is saying in this command, go and search out, go and look at this land, see what's there, but I'm giving the land to you. Right, seems like it's a point that was missed. Okay, so as we go through, let's just look at this as kind of a it's kind of like a side note, but we still want to look at it because it's there, right? We'll get back into the searching and the intent of both the Most High and the people. Right, but we see here that these are the men, and went through the names of the men who Moshe sent to spy out the land. But Moses, it says, called Hoshea, the son of Nun, Yehoshua. Okay, so let's look at this, because we see here kind of a renaming of Hoshea, right? So let's look at this. Hoshea means deliverer. It means deliverer. The root of Hoshea is Yasha, which is to properly to be open, wide or free, that is to be safe, causatively to free, or succor, which is to literally to run, or to run to support, to help or relieve when in difficulty, right? So it has this aspect of rescuing, of delivering, to free, right? If I'm freeing you, I'm again, you have this rescuing aspect, this idea of deliverance. It's interesting that both Moshe and the successor of Moshe, Yeshua, both, in both of their names, they have the same idea. In both of their names, they have the same idea of deliverance or rescuing in their names. Monty says that Deuteronomy verse is critical to the story. Yeah. That Deuteronomy verse definitely is critical to the story because it gives us the backstory, right? Because when you think about it, why do why does Yahweh why is he doing this? Why is he sending the people in to spy out the thing that he's already spied out? Because sometimes that's what he does for us, right? Whether it's good or bad, right? He gives us the desires of our heart, whether it's good for us or bad for us, right? But yes, absolutely. That verse in Deuteronomy is indeed critical to the story. Yes, but looking at again the root of Hosea's name, again, we have the idea of deliverance, to help, to deliver, to defend. The underlying idea of this verb, yasha, is bringing to a place of safety or broad pasture, as opposed to a narrow strait, symbolic of distress or danger. Okay, right. So it has the idea of bringing you to an open place, as opposed to a confined place. Right. When you think about the idea of slavery and being freed from Egypt, right, it's a confined place. You're confined. You've been made a slave. And then the opposite of that, the freeing aspect of that, you've been brought to this broad, open place, apart from this narrow place. Yasha. Hold on, what just happened? Okay, so we see that Hosea, from Moses, is being renamed to Yehoshua, or not just a deliverer, but Yahweh delivers, right? So it's putting the emphasis on the Most High. It's putting the emphasis on Yahweh. Letting us understand who it is that is doing the delivering, right? So he basically adds Yahweh to his name. And then here with this, we see that there are different versions of the name. So it's interesting to look at this because we can see that although this really has the same meaning really as Hosea, in terms of it being non-specific and not necessarily connected to Yahweh necessarily, but when we're able to look and see in Nehemiah that Yeshua, that shorter form that literally means he will save, is actually a contracted form of Yehoshua. If we look over here in Nehemiah 8:17, where it says, and the entire assembly of those who had come back from the captivity made booths and sat under the booths. For since the days of Yeshua, son of Nun, until the day of the children of Israel had not done so, and there was very great rejoicing. So we see here that it's referring to Yehoshua, is referring to the successor of Moses, this Yeshua, the son of Nun. Yeshua is not Hoshea, it's Yeshua, which is a contracted form of Yehoshua. So even though we see that it literally is saying he will save, because we looking at the where this form actually comes from, it is a contracted form of Yehoshua, just like if you said cannot or can't, right? A contraction, it doesn't remove any of the meaning. So we still dealing with the thing that Moses added to his name, the Most High, Yahweh. We just see a contracted form being used for Yeshua. Okay, so that was just kind of like a sidebar, even though it's part of the portion. We want to deal with the main context of what's going on. And hold on, does anybody have any thoughts or comments about what we just was dealing with as far as Yehoshua and his name? No, that's good. Okay, so looking down at verse 17, and Moshe sent them to spy out the land of Canaan and say to them, go up here into the south and go up to the mountains and see what the land is like and the people who dwell in it, whether they're strong or weak, whether few or many, whether the land they dwell in is good or evil, whether the cities they inhabit are in camps or strongholds, whether the land is rich or poor, whether there are forests there or not. And you shall be strong and shall bring some of the fruit of the land, now the time of the season of the first fruit of grapes. So again, this is all quite interesting because it has already been told by the Almighty that this land is a plenteous land, right? We already know this. We already know that it's plenteous. And then we see here this idea of them going to see if it is, yes, indeed, plenteous.
So they going out because they don't. It's like they don't trust him. They don't trust Yahweh.
Yes. Well, yes. Well, that's what I would say. I would say that they weren't trusting to begin with. So in their faithlessness, Yahweh still, it wasn't as if they were doing something that Yahweh didn't want for them to do, because he commanded for them to go ahead and do it. But at the foundation of this whole thing is actually, I would say, the faithlessness of the people going into the thing to begin with. So if we look back, again, if we look back at Exodus 3 and 8, the Most High has already determined that this place is a plenteous land. And I have come down to deliver them from the land of the Mitzrites and to bring them up from the land to a good and spacious land. The land's good and it's spacious, to a land flowing with milk and honey, to the place of the Canaanites, the Hittites, the Amorites, the Perizzites, and the Levites, and the Jebusites. Exodus 3 and 8. So this is Yahweh speaking to Moses, right? Yahweh said that to Moses in regards to the land. But we see this here, what we're getting ready to look at, this right here is to the people. Go, Exodus 3, 16 and 17, go, and you shall gather the elders of Israel together and say to them. Moses is supposed to go and say this to the people. So he had already told Moses that the land was flowing with milk and honey. So, but now he says, here, tell this to the people. Yahweh, Elohim of your fathers, the Elohim of Abraham, the Elohim of Yitzhak, and of Yaakov, appeared to me, saying, I have indeed visited you, and see what is done to you in Mitzrayim. And I say, I am bringing you up out of the affliction of Mitzrayim to the land of the Canaanite, and the Hittite, and the Amorite, and the Perizzite, and the Levite, and the Jebusite, to a land flowing with milk and honey. This was a message from Yahweh to the people. So they should have already have heard about the goodness of the land. They should have already known about the plenteousness of the land. But we see that, of course, this didn't stop the people from wanting to actually see the thing for themselves.
You could just see it when you get there anyways. Just...
Yeah, that's right. You could just see it when you get there. You'll see when we get there, right? Yeah. That's what you would say, huh?
Yeah.
You saying that now. Okay, so, and we see this also. Exodus 33, 2 and 4. And I shall send my messenger before you, and I shall drive out the Canaanites and the Amorites and the Hittites and the Perizzites and the Hivites and the Jebusites to a land flowing with milk and honey. For I do not go up in your midst because you are a stiff-necked people, lest I consume you on the way. And when the people heard this evil word, they mourned, and no one put on his ornaments. Okay, so the people are mourning, and this evil word is the fact that Yahweh wasn't going up to the land with them. He was sending a messenger in his stead as a result of the golden calf situation. So that was the evil word that they heard and that they mourned. But they also heard that this land that they was going up to was a land flowing with milk and honey. So if we look back at the fact that the Most High told Moses, we look back at the fact that the Most High told Moses to tell the people, and we could also look back at the fact that the people actually heard from Yahweh, this report of the land. They should have already known, if they were operating from a standpoint of faith, they should have already known that they was going into a land that was plenteous. Right? The Most High already said it was a land flowing with milk and honey. He already knew that the land was good and plenteous, and he had already said it to the people. O ye of little faith. O ye of little faith. Matthew 16, 1 through 4 says, and the Pharisees and the Sadducees came and trying him, asked that he would show them a sign from heaven. And he answered and said to them, when it is evening, you say, fair weather, for the heaven is red, and in the morning, stormy weather today, for the heaven is red and overcast. You know how to discern the face of the heaven, but you are unable to discern the signs of the times. A wicked and adulterous generation seeks after a sign, and no sign shall be given to it except the sign of the prophet Jonah. And he left them and went away. We see here Yeshua chastising the Pharisees and the Sadducees because they're asking for a sign. They want to have a sign of these things that Yeshua is speaking to them about. He calls them a wicked and adulterous generation. Those are the ones that seeks after a sign. Kind of like how when we look at Israel, they wanted to go and see for themselves. They was not able to trust in the word only of the Most High. They was not able to trust in his word and just go based on his word. They had to actually look and see for themselves what they was getting themselves into ahead of time. Same thing. John 4:8. Yeshua then said to him, if you people do not see signs and wonders, you do not believe at all. Hebrews 11:1-3 and verse 6. And belief or faith is the substance of what is expected, the proof of what is not seen. For by this the elders obtained witness. By belief, by faith, we understand that the ages were prepared by the word of Elohim, so that what is seen was not made of what is visible. Verse 6, but without belief, without faith, it is impossible to please him. For he who comes to Elohim has to believe that he is, and that he is a rewarder of those who earnestly seek him. Right, so we have to understand really what faith is, what we're dealing with when we think about this thing called faith. There's not a direct correlation between faith and seeing. I talk about the idea of the chair all the time. When we think about a chair, think about a chair that you've never sat in before. It's a perfect example. I just bought these lawn chairs to go watch Hiskey's little soccer games at these places that don't have seating, right? I go to Harbor Freight, the little cheap store, and buy these lawn chairs. And these chairs have a maximum weight of 250. I'm a little over 250. So I was a little hesitant to sit down in the chair. But yet and still, I sat in the chair. I believed that the chair was going to hold me up when I sat down in it. And I must say, I felt more confident after, actually sitting in the chair and feeling the sturdiness of it underneath me. But me having real faith in the chair would have caused me just to sit down just like I would do, without, thinking about it, right? Without kind of testing it out. That would have been faith. I was just acting like an Israelite whenever I was kind of being questioning the stability of the chair. But the idea is when we thinking about faith is not dealing with, what you're able to see. We think about faith in Yeshua. You've never seen Yeshua, right? But you trust and believe and know without a shadow of a doubt that he came and did, what the scriptures say that he did. If you had to depend on some type of visual confirmation, that's not what faith is, right? So this is what we're dealing with we look back at the children of Israel, where we have the record of Yahweh describing this land, choosing this land ahead of time, finding this inheritance for the people, and the people saying, let me go out here and look at this inheritance that you have got for us. Let's look at it first and see if we able to go up here and do this thing that you even saying that we should be doing. I'm saying that these people, Israel, they had no faith. They could not accept the word of Yahweh. They wasn't able to accept the fact that Yahweh had predetermined this space and was giving them, like he literally said, was giving them this land to possess. What do we see here?
Water. Clear water.
You see water. That's what you see.
I see water.
Well, you're right. Water, it is water. Perception shapes your reality. How you perceive a thing shapes your reality. When we look at this, depending on how you look at things, we know that Hermione says it sees a glass that's half full. Some might say a glass that's half empty. Right, so I'm with Hermione, right? I see a glass that's half full. Right, if you kind of optimistic, that's how you're looking at it. If you're kind of pessimistic, you're looking at it and saying, it's half empty. You're looking at it from a positive perspective, or you're looking at it from a negative perspective. Your perception, is shaping your reality. We're both looking at the same thing, but depending on how we perceive things depends on how we are defining the thing that we're looking at. So when you look at the fact that you had 12 spies going into the land, they all saw the same thing, but the majority of the people saw one thing, and then there was a minority that saw something else, although they was looking at the same thing. So everything that could have been said about the people and the land is what those spies saw, and then some. They saw people that were strong, not weak. Right? They looked and they're supposed to determine whether the people were strong or weak. The majority of the people saw some strong people. They saw that there was many and not few. They saw that they had strongholds and not camps, right? It was the worst case scenario in every aspect of the things they were supposed to have been looking for. They saw strongholds, fortified places, not just camps. They saw that the land devours its inhabitants. I'm not sure exactly what they saw that caused them to see that, but they said that the land devours its inhabitants. That's the other thing that they saw. Well, we'll talk about that. And all the people were giants. They didn't just see giants. They said all the people were giants. Then it says Caleb quieted the people before Moses and said, we should by all means go up and take possession of it, for we shall surely overcome it. Okay, so now we have somebody speaking reasonably. Somebody who's actually dealing with reality. Because, you know, at the end of the day, you're dealing with the people really who just witnessed the Most High utterly destroy the probably the strongest nation in the whole, in the whole world at that time, with Egypt. But yet and still we see that they have forgot about what they obviously forgot about what happened with all of that when it had to do with the going into this land here. So this is what we see in Antiquities of the Jews from Josephus. He says, but of the spies, there were Joshua, the son of Nun, and of the tribe of Ephraim, and Caleb of the tribe of Judah, that were afraid of the consequence and came into the midst of them and stilled the multitude and desired them to be of good courage and neither to condemn Elohim as having told them lies, not to hearken to those who had affrighted them by telling them what was not true concerning the Canaanites, but to those that encouraged them to hope for good success, and that they should gain possession of the happiness promised them, because neither the height of the mountains nor the depth of rivers could hinder men of true courage from attempting them, especially while Elohim would take care of them beforehand and be assistance to them. Let us then go, said they, against our enemies and have no suspicion of ill success, trusting in Elohim to conduct us and following those that are to be our leaders. Thus did these two exhort them and endeavor to pacify the rage they were in. That's what Josephus had to say about this whole situation. So, thinking about, Joshua and Caleb, imagine, again, they're in the minority, dealing with these other 10 elders of the people. They're the only voices, speaking from a right frame of mind in terms of understanding that Yahweh is behind them. They have nothing to fear with Yahweh behind them. But we see that the problem was with the 10 spies is that they are thinking about doing these things in their own strength. They're not trusting in Yahweh. They're not trusting in what the Most High has promised and said he was going to do. They're looking at their own abilities and thinking about their own capabilities of what they are able to do and looking at the situation based on that. perception, again, is everything. What was it that Caleb saw? What did he see? He was looking at the same thing that the other people was looking at, and he's talking about let's go. Let's go up here and do this. What did he see? What was it that Caleb saw that allowed him to be able to say, I'm ready to go. Let's go up here and take care of this. And it doesn't really matter. I don't think it seems as if when we look at Caleb's response, I don't think it matters. We could say that he saw everything that they saw. I think I'm saying at the end of the day there was a lot of exaggeration and fear involved in what the 10 spies reported, because again they said things like all of the people were giants, not just that there were giants, but all of them were giants. But even if we give them the benefit of the doubt, I'm saying that Caleb and Joshua, it didn't even matter. Like, it didn't come into play what they saw, because they were looking at it properly, understanding that the Most High was going to be the one that carried them over into the land and was going to cause them to be victorious anyway. So I'm saying it didn't even matter what he saw, because he wasn't looking at his situation. He wasn't looking at the circumstances and allowing his circumstances to determine what he was going to be doing, which is something that we need to kind of try to incorporate into our personal situations, right? Because if we sit and look at how hard something may potentially be and let that be the determining factor whether we go after things or not, we won't end up never doing nothing, right? If we look at some obstacle that we need to be dealing with, and because of the fact that it's this hard thing to do, then we don't even attempt at all, right? We can't go through life looking at things and letting those things determine whether we move forward or not. We have to go through life understanding that the Most High is with us and wants for us to be prosperous. And he wants for us to move forward regardless of what is in front of us. He wants for us to be able to flow like water. Water's not stopping because there's something in front of it, right? It's just going to move its way around it. It's going to find a way. What did the 10 other spies really see? I'm saying that I don't think they saw everything that they sat there and thought that they saw. Based on the fact that they sat there and said that all of the people was giants. What made them feel utterly defeated just from seeing the land and the people, right? Because that's what you have there, just utter, just defeat. When they saw, they just was just defeated. They just was just not able to move forward in the process. Even though, again, we go back to the beginning, we see that Yahweh said, this is a place that I'm giving you. He didn't say like, this is a place that I have potentially made available for you. He said, this is the place that I'm giving you. This is the place that I am appointing for you. How is it that the people forgot what it was that Yahweh has said? It's because they were looking through the lens of fear. Fear was the thing, the lens that the people were looking through. They were looking through the lens of fear, which was clouding, their perceptions. And again, this is what we have to think about, in our own lives, in our own walks. Are we putting fear above the word of Yahweh? That's exactly what these people were doing here, putting their own fears above the word of Yahweh. Yahweh said, I'm giving you this. Them people's fears said, we can't defeat these people. They're all giants. We're like grasshoppers compared to these people.
Oh, grasshoppers?
Yeah, that's what it says.
Yeah, that's actually actually really little.
Yeah.
I mean that means that they were like.
So, verse 31. But the men who had gone up with him said, we are not able to go up against the people, but they are too strong for us. We can't do it. We're not able to go up here and do this thing that the Most High is saying that we need to be doing. We just can't do it. They're too strong for us. So they gave out to the sons of Israel a bad report of the land which they had spied out. So again, the 12 spies were the leaders of the people. They went up there and they determined these people was too strong for us. This is what we're going back with. This is what we're going to go and tell the rest of the people about. And they gave this bad report of the land which they had spied out, saying the land through which we have gone in spying it out is a land that devours. I don't know where they came up with this. Devours its inhabitants, and all the people whom we saw in it are men of great size. There also we saw Nephilim, the sons of Anak. The sons of Anak are part of the Nephilim, and we became like grasshoppers in our own sight. So we were in their sight. Right? So they came together. They determined that this was an impossible task that they just wasn't able to do, and they brought this evil report. Right? So the final conclusion was a bad report against the land and its people, but most importantly against Yahweh. They brought slander, right? A defaming word, evil report. That translation that I had, hold on, was that I don't know if that's the King James. It says bad report. But this word deba literally means an evil report. So it seems like it's a little worse than bad. Let's see here. Oh yeah, King James does translate it as evil report, slander. Right? They brought this slander against the land, against the people, and against Yahweh, because the Most High is the one who's even said that this was a good. As he said, he had nothing but good things to say about it. He's speaking against Yahweh. He's speaking against the predetermination that the Most High has brought up. Did you try to say something? Just okay. Okay, so this whole idea about the land that devours its inhabitants. We look through various commentaries. They have different things to say about this whole idea of the land devouring its inhabitants. Now, it can only be assumed as to what this actually meant because they didn't actually talk about this. But the only thing that we know for sure about this statement is that it was not true, right? It was something that was conjured up out of the fear of the people. So some say it was to do with its physical location. Now, because of its physical location, it was exposed to constant attacks from one side or another. Therefore, its occupants must always be armed and watchful. So they talked about the idea of this land that devoured its inhabitants, basing that on the fact that it was in such a dangerous location because of the surrounding peoples. They always had to kind of be on the lookout for the surrounding nations, coming in and attacking. Others have said that it was so plenteous, the land was so plenteous that the occupants would guard extra tough against outsiders to maintain the abundance of the land. So, in other words, the place was so great that, and the people knew that it was so great that the people were, constantly trying to keep other people out from coming in because of the fact that it was so great. While others assume that they were continually dealing with civil wars and destroying one another, which actually should have been a reason for the people to be able to go in and overcome. However, the majority of the spies, for whatever reason, saw that and it only produced fear inside of them. Right. So again, we look at this idea of the land devouring its inhabitants. Again, we're dealing with the perception of these spies and their fear that was.
How many times does fear make us doubt the word of
Oh, somebody said in the text, how many times does fear make us doubt the word of Yahweh? I think that's an important question, right? When you think about fear, it plays a huge part. It can play a huge part in our lives. When we think about, calling Yahweh our Elohim. When we call Yahweh our Elohim, we call him our mighty one. We put him on top of everything that we do. Right? When we allow fear to prevent us from moving in a way that the Most High is instructing for us to move in, now you just may fear your Elohim. Now you've just put fear over top of the Most High. And that's you've made an idol out of fear.
Because you are going to listen to fear before you listen to the Most High. So they're going to listen to their own fear before they're going to listen to him say, go take the land.
Right. And we see as an example here that fear causes you to think about things in an irrational way. Because we know that they clearly didn't see all giants. That's not what they saw. So but fear caused them to see that. Which wasn't even the case.
Delusion.
Delusion is a false belief. Right? Fear can make you delusional. Fear can cause you to have false beliefs about things and make those things so strong in your mind that it stops you from doing the things that the Most High has commanded for you to do. He said, go up there and go. He succumbed to the people's request to go spy out the land. But he specifically said that go ahead and spy out the land that I am giving you. I'm giving this land to you. I'm giving it to you, Natan. I've appointed it to you. It's yours already. All you got to do is go up here and take it. But fear is saying, I can't. Fear is making me say, I can't do it. I can't. It's too hard. All the people were giants. All the people were giants. Okay, let's deal with this idea of giants. Nephil, properly a feller, that is a bully, tyrant, giant. This word is, always kind of connected with giants and these people. People saying that this is a mixture of angels and human beings. I'm just not into it. I'm just not into this idea of Nephilim being these superhuman beings, a mixture of spirit beings and flesh beings mixed together. It's that doesn't make any sense. If we don't have the book of Enoch, which I'm just gonna say is a false book, it doesn't correspond with the Bible. It has direct contradictions in it with the Bible, so we can't accept it as a book that is something that we can believe in. So if we take that out of the equation, we're not talking about Nephilim being these hybrid humans. If we remove Enoch from the equation. So regardless of what the people saw, at the end of the day, to say you cannot win when the Almighty declared you a winner is blasphemous. Period. Yahweh said you're going to win. Yahweh said you're going to go and you're going to conquer in this battle. People said, no, we can't do it. Blasphemy.
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's about the Nephilim thing. I don't necessarily believe either direction, so I'm not pointed asking. I'm just want to know your opinion. What do you do with Genesis 6:2 that says that the sons of God saw the daughters of men that they were fair and they took them for wives, all that they chose. What do you do with that? That's what they use. Like, I know some people use the Book of Enoch, but other people use that to support that. Oh, see, the Nephilim would be these children of the sons of God and the daughters of men.
Well, you got to ask yourself, who are the sons of Elohim? Who
Yeah.
are the sons of Elohim? Why are you saying that those are angels? I'm saying that the reason why we're saying that those are angels is the Book of Enoch. The reason why we're saying that the sons of Elohim are angels is the Book of Enoch. Because they're these fallen angels in the land, and they're mating with human beings.
So I don't read the NIV personally, but in the NIV it says that the sons of God saw the daughters of humans. So when you see it like that, like for some people, like if like, you know, like that doesn't include the Book of Enoch. That's just used in the scripture. So how would you how would you define the sons of God?
I like how you prefaced it by saying that you don't read the NIV.
I don't.
Because I don't read it either for that reason, because
Right.
you know the NIV is going to paraphrase for you, right? It's not giving you specifically what the scriptures is saying. It's going to give you some type of paraphrase. But look at this. Let me find it first. It's in 1 Corinthians. 1 Corinthians 15.
11 maybe.
11. I think I'm going to 15.
15.
15. 1 Corinthians 15, 39. 39. 15, 39. All flesh is not the same flesh, but there is one kind of flesh of men, another flesh of beasts, another of fishes, and another of birds. There are also celestial bodies and bodies terrestrial. But the glory of the celestial is one, and the glory of terrestrial is another. There is one glory of the sun, and another glory of the moon, and another glory of the stars, for one star differs from another in glory. So also is the resurrection of the dead. It is sown in corruption, it is raised in incorruption. It is sown in dishonor, it is raised in glory. It is sown in weakness, raised in power. It is sown a natural body, is raised a spiritual body. There is a natural body and there is a spiritual body. So when we look at all of these things, Paul's sitting up there talking about all of these different bodies. And how they're different. They don't mix, right? We have celestial bodies, yeah. But then we also have physical bodies. We have terrestrial bodies, human bodies, and spirit bodies. What we talking about if we're going to sit up here and say that, you know, these spirit bodies come and mix with physical bodies and make physical beings, superhuman beings. Now, if you want to say that some spirit bodies took over the actions of a physical body, that's one thing. But still, the result of a physical body and a physical body is going to be another physical body. But when you're talking about a physical body mixing with a spiritual body, you're talking about two different things. So how do they mix? I don't know how they mix. I mean, if we talking about in a movie, maybe we can see how they mix. But in reality, What we
That's
talking?
good. Yeah, that's good.
There's a distinction that's made.
Hmm.
You know, if I go and do something with a beast, there ain't nothing that's gonna happen. Because our parts don't go together. So I'm saying that the same thing is true when dealing with this. So when we look back at Genesis, when it's talking about the sons of Elohim and the sons of men, you talking about those that were living righteously, those that were living according to the handed down commands from Adam, and those that were living according to so when you look at how what's his name, you have the seed that came from Seth, where you look over in Genesis 4 and 26, where it says, and to Seth, to him also there was born a son, and he called his name Enosh. Then began men to call upon the name of Yahweh. So you had the line of Seth, who, even when we look down at the lineage, is coming down from Seth, where these are the ones where it's connected back to Adam, and they were the ones that were carrying out what we seen was given to Adam that he passed down. But then you also have those that was connected to Cain, who was exiled and went away. Right. So you have those that, so the thought process is that you have those that was righteous, and you have those that was wicked. And a mixture of the righteous and the wicked always ends up going on the side of the wicked. So you have this perversion thing that's going on at this time until they get to a place of gross iniquity where, it becomes necessary that the flood come. So are we going to say that the Most High is destroying the land because of angels mixing with human beings? Or do we just look at what it says in verse 5 and Elohim of chapter 6, Genesis chapter 6, and Elohim saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every imagination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. The thing that was being combated with the flood was gross iniquity, was wickedness. So this mixture of, and again, Nephilim is translated as giants, but it literally means a tyrant or a bully. So I feel like it's just a bad translation to look at this and call it giants, like we're talking about, literal giants. If anything, I think it has more to do with the influence, and in this respect, it's that evil influence that literally took over the earth. So again, if we move forward now, if we move forward back into Leviticus chapter 13, Numbers chapter 13. So what do we say here? That somehow this thing that the Most High destroyed the earth for happened again? And you got these people that should have been destroyed with the flood. Where does Nephilim come from again? Where'd they come from? Because the flood should have destroyed everybody. I'm saying that these ain't some giants, some hybrid human beings. We're talking about people who were tyrants of wickedness, that were uh, you know possessing this great influence. But you wasn't talking about giants, right? This was a total exaggeration that was totally connected to the fear of the people, that again had no effect on Caleb and Joshua. I'm saying that they probably didn't even see no giants. And if they did see the giants, they saw Yahweh, who stands giant overall. Okay, so that's what I think about the situation. That's my thoughts.
No, that's good. Thank you. That's good. I appreciate all that you put together just there. That was good.
Okay. Okay, so again, dealing with this idea of the people denying the word of Yahweh. These people denying the word of Yahweh. Yahweh said, you go up here, you take over the land. And the idea of this being blasphemous, right? Matthew 12:32 says, and whoever speaks a word against the son of man, the son of Adam, it shall be forgiven him. But whoever speaks against the set apart spirit, it shall not be forgiven him, either in this age or in the age to come. In the context, the Ruach, the set apart spirit, is the power of the Father, his plan and the working of it with intimacy. Right? When we look back at that verse in Matthew, when the people are sitting up there saying that what Yeshua is doing is, casting out the devil by the power of the devil. And Yeshua is sitting up there saying, what you talking about doesn't make any sense. He's operating in the power of the Almighty, and the evidence of that is the fact that he's sitting up here casting out devils, right? But they're speaking about the power of the Father, the moving of the Spirit, his plan and the working of it with intimacy, right? So let's look at this even further, right? John Gill, a commentator, biblical commentator. It shall not be forgiven him, not because the Holy Spirit is greater than Christ, or for want of efficacy of the blood of Christ, but because Elohim cannot pardon it, but because such persons willfully, maliciously, and obstinately oppose the Spirit of Elohim, without whom there can be no application of pardon made, and remain in hardness of heart, are given up to a reprobate mind, and die in impenitence and unbelief. And so there is no forgiveness for them. So when we think about this idea of this blasphemy of the power of the Most High, this blasphemy of the Spirit, this unpardonable thing, you have the idea of this this willful and malicious opposition to the plan and purpose of the Most High. So in order to willfully and maliciously oppose the plan of the Most High, there has to be a connectedness to it. In other words, if I'm on the outside, I don't have any connection to the plan of the Most High anyway. So for me to stand against that plan, is not any different than anything else because I don't believe any of it in the first place. But when we're talking about somebody on the inside, somebody who there is some type of an intimate relationship with, somebody who actually understands the power of the Most High, and then to have an understanding of it and intimacy with it, and then still reject it, now we're talking about a problem. So when we look at comparing that back with the children of Israel, looking at the fact that they have just been brought out and rescued from Egypt, they've seen the power of the Almighty. They understand what he's capable of. They can understand and know that Yahweh is more than able to do everything that he said he was going to do. Yet and still, the people say, we can't go up here and do what it is you're talking about doing. But we know what happens at the end. We know what happens at the end. These people don't make it in. Right? The Most High says, if this is what you're going to do, this is what you're going to do, just sit up here and ignore all the things that I've said and done for you at this point, fine. You're not making it to the promised land. Right? Because they've committed the unforgivable sin. They've rejected the power and the plan of the Almighty with intimacy.
That's the worst sin.
Yeah. Romans 1:28 through 32 says, and even as they did not think it worthwhile to possess the knowledge of Elohim, Elohim gave them over to a worthless mind to do what is improper, having been filled with all unrighteousness, whoring, wickedness, greed, evil, filled with envy, murder, fighting, deceit, evil habits, whisperers, slanderers, haters of Elohim, insolent, proud, boasters, devisers of evil, disobedient to parents. You hear that? Without discernment, covenant breakers, unloving, unforgiving, ruthless, who, though they know the righteousness of Elohim, that those who practice such deserve death, not only do the same, but also approve of those who practice them. Right? So we're not just talking about people who's doing all of these things. We're not just talking about people who's doing all of this envying and murdering and fighting and devisers of evil and disobedient to their parents, so on and so forth. But the key here is the fact that though they know the righteousness of Elohim, it's making it worse. Right? It takes it to the point of no return when you have experienced an intimacy with the Most High, and in spite of that, in spite of the intimacy that you've experienced, you still say, I'd rather do this. I'd rather follow after my carnal mind than follow after the Most High. Hebrews 10:26, for if we sin purposefully after we have received the knowledge of the truth, there no longer remains a slaughter offering for sins. That's what we're talking about when we look back at these people who have experienced and received the knowledge of the truth. They witnessed and heard the Most High speak to them from on high. And they witnessed all 10 of the plagues. They put the blood on the doorposts. And they came out from Egypt under the delivering hand of the Most High. And then after that, even though the whole reason for them coming out of Egypt was actually go into the land, they didn't come out of Egypt to go into the wilderness. The wilderness was in the middle. They came out of Egypt to go into the land. So they said, the thing that you started in me, you can't finish it. You can't even finish it. The Most High said to them, you know what? I guess you're right. I guess I can't finish it. You dead and you're going to die in the wilderness. For you, I can't finish it because you faithless. The 10 spies, along with all those who went along with the evil report, denied the power and plan of the Most High. They should have known better. They did it in spite of their intimacy, their intimate knowledge of Yahweh, which is why they were destined to perish in the wilderness and did not reach the promised land. So I said all that. Just to say this. You know, we hear and see the word of the Almighty. We've experienced his power. We've experienced and seen his redemption, the work that he has done. But we also see how he reacts to those that do not operate in faith. And not just a general faith, but faith in him, faith in his word, faith in what he has ordained and destined for us to do and be. He never was relying on the people to go in there and destroy these people based on their own strength. That was never part of the equation in the first place. It was always only Yahweh doing the work, him fighting the battle. And if we could just remember the fact that we not fighting the battle anyway, how can we lose? We can't. We can't do nothing but win. Okay, so do we have any thoughts, question, or comments about any of that we had just talked about with all of that stuff? Okay, so if we don't have any thoughts, questions, or comments of any of that, for now, we will be done with this.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that was a very powerful and insightful message. It just got me thinking about the areas in my life where where I don't fully embrace the trust that I should in Yahweh. Because like I read the scriptures, I look at these stories and stories about how he's leading Israel into battle and he's actually bringing the victory, not the Israelites. But then I have to realize that that's the same thing for me. If he's in charge of my life, leading the battle against my challenges and the things I face in my day to day, I need to yield to that and to be fearless because he's in control, he's in charge, and I just gotta, as long as I'm remaining obedient and yielding to his spirit and having the right discernment for his will, then there should be no fear. So it just got me thinking about all that stuff, and it's pretty powerful.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, when we think about it, that's our main problem is our own fear that we have in our personal ability to do a thing. When at the end of the day, he's the one behind our wins and losses in the first place. Right. So we really have nothing to fear. Right. Because if we trusted in him and we lose, he didn't want for us to be doing that in the first place. Right. But if he has for us to win and succeed, that's what's going to happen. Right. If we trust in the Most High and putting him first. Right. So we definitely can see a perfect example of that with with Numbers chapter 13, because we can clearly see that we have these people going up and they all seeing the same things. They physically seeing whatever it was that they all saw the same thing. But those that was able to have faith in the Most High, all they saw was victory, because they realized that he was the one that was going to do fighting the battle in the first place. But the ones who was trusting in their own physical abilities, they was the ones that everybody was giants and the lands destroying their whole the land and all of this. Sister Sarah says, how about the demon-possessed man, spirit and flesh? His extreme strength was how his spirit manifests with the joined with the flesh. In the scripture, it does not say that the angels had sex per se, nor the women gave birth exactly. So yet, that is neither the important thing. What is important is that Yah is to be trusted and believed. Hold on. What you saying about this? Hold on. Can you just say what you trying to say? Because
I think with the demon-possessed man, right? Like that's a spirit indwelling in a person. That's not the same as making a person. It was just the indwelling spirit of the demonic realm versus a Holy Spirit being indwelling, right? Like that's not the same thing.
Right. When I look at this whole idea of the mixture between spirit and man, you have kind of you have a man that's doing things as a man. So yes, he might being somebody who has experienced people in what we call today mental illness, which probably is a type of demon possession, which you have this spiritual kind of thing that's going on the inside, where yes, people have these episodes of strength or what have you. But at the end of the day, if they mate with another human being, they're just going to make another human being. So yes, you will have kind of a physical manifestation as a result of a spiritual mixture, but you're not dealing with a mixture of kind between the two. Okay, you saying it not saying though that they did make a man the way we are thinking is what I'm saying. We got caught up with that because of the thought. Hold on, I'm having a hard time understanding what it's not saying. We get caught up.
Okay, I'm not saying. Okay, what I'm saying is, if we backtrack,
Yeah.
I'm saying that, and bear with me because right at the moment I really can't clarify because of my medicine having taken effect. It's a bad time for me to talk about it, but I think that we were wrong in thinking that there was a child birthed by a woman. I think that that wasn't, we got caught up with that thought because of the thing of thinking that an angel came down and had sex with a woman and the woman gave birth. I don't think that's what that scripture is saying.
Oh yeah.
I don't think an angel came down and had sex with a woman and a woman gave birth. I don't think that's what that scripture is saying. If you look at what the words actually are saying, it doesn't say. When you go into the original meaning, it doesn't say that the angel had sex and that the woman necessarily gave birth to a man, to a being. And when you look back, when you think back to some of the things that actually happen, and when you think about the things that actually occur, um, there's a lot of things that go on in this world that we tend to overlook. And when we talk about the influence of demons and the influence of on men in this world, and when we talk about witchcraft and demonic possession, and we talk about the results of that kind of thing. It's kind of, like I said, it's difficult for me to explain it right now. I can't really say, but if you just go back and look at first off the scripture where it talks about these creatures coming down, you won't see that it said that they necessarily had sex with these women. You'll see that it didn't necessarily have to be that they gave birth. But we got caught up in thinking that it had to be that way, and therefore it had to be a person that came forth. So, I have to kind of stop there. I had the full thought, but I can't really express it right now because of my medicine.
Okay, that's. I mean, I get what you say. I understand, and I would agree with what you're saying in terms of what the result was. At best, this negative, wicked influence on the world. Not to say that there was some type of mixture of angels and men, but that there was this wicked, unrighteous, strong influence in the world, which caused man to literally be and operate in gross iniquity.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
It could have affected it. There's no saying how it affected their flesh. I mean, it could have been. Um, uh, there's all kind of deformities that can take place, but I'm not saying that there wasn't any strangeness that came forth, because we do know even with a demon-possessed man, he had exceptional strength. I mean, exceptional strength. But it wasn't necessarily that the angel came down and had sex and blended with them on a physical level.
Mhm.
Spiritual,
Yeah.
had sex and physically gave, they laid down and gave birth to a huge person.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. I mean, I personally don't take Genesis chapter 6 from a spiritual demon possession thought process. I personally look at that as just being wicked men mixing with, or hold on, sons of Elohim mixing with the daughters of men. So righteous men mixing with unrighteous women. These women that, just like we see with Israel mixing with Midianites, right? You have or Moabites, righteous men, sons of Elohim, dealing with wicked women and going towards the the wicked practices, doing those things just like we always do, right? And it just reaching to a point of look at where we are even right now.
Well, I feel like the demons are always very active, just like they are today. I think wicked men have a lot of demonic influence behind them, and I feel that that evil and Hasatan is very busy.
Yeah.
And just like the scriptures say, we wrestle not with flesh and blood, but with the wickedness and principalities and powers in high places.
Yeah.
So I feel like that hasn't just started. I think that's always been.
Yeah, it definitely hasn't just started. I think that I'm just one to not always blame it on the devil.
Oh no,
Right?
yeah, I agree.
Hasatan came and asked about Job, who was at the time, he was the most righteousest person around. But Joe Schmo, he ain't think about Joe Schmo. You know what I mean? We got our own wickedness, our own carnal mind
That's true. That's true.
to deal with. So
That's true.
yes, in the big scheme of things, Hasatan, he's called the prince of this world.
That's
But
right.
it's not necessary for him to sit up here and have influence over every single being, because we have that carnal mind that wants for us to pacify our own carnal desires.
But
So
see, that's
we
why I
could be
think.
wicked. We could be wicked by ourselves. I don't need Hasatan to be wicked. I could just want my carnal mind to be appeased.
But see, I think that was the difference. I think that's why it mentioned the sons of Elohim and the daughters of men. See, I think that's the daughters of men was mentioned because that was the weakness of the human flesh, succumbing to the influence of the sons of spirit, the demonic influence.
So you say the sons of Elohim was fallen angels? What you say?
I'm saying it was not, well, it was demonic influence.
Yeah. Well,
it might have been through men, but it was demonic influence.
Yeah.
It was a greater evil than just a human weakness, human evil.
Yeah. I just haven't that.
That was my thought.
Okay. All right. Very good. Okay. This was very good. I appreciate everybody's input. This, gets very unfulfilling when you don't have input. When you have people questions, comments, thoughts, opinions, all of this makes this all worth it. Okay, so that being said, for now, we'll go ahead and stop this broadcast.